All right, here we are, Module 8, e-commerce. It might be obvious that e-business and e-commerce is like traditional business and commerce. However, we use computers and technology to better serve our customers and increase flexibility. Really, the only difference between the textbook definition for commerce and the textbook definition for e-commerce is three little words: over the internet. We're doing the same functions, but we're allowing technology and the internet to do a lot of the footwork for us. Technology allows us to supplement traditional business tasks. It's so much easier to work with vendors in our supply chain now than 20 or 30 years ago. We can communicate sales and inventory data instantaneously to our suppliers. Overnight, the orders can be processed, and by the time the next morning rolls around, the truck is already loaded with the items we need from yesterday's sales. In the mid-80s, Michael Porter introduced the value chain concept. This is where we have many activities that are designed to meet businesses' needs by adding value or cost through each phase of the process. And we're going to be talking about each of the phases below. Starting with inbound logistics, it sounds just like it reads. We're taking all of the materials and parts that we need to produce our widgets, whatever we're making, taking them from our vendors, moving them to our production facilities, or maybe even moving them to a storage facility to wait until we can actually start working with those materials. A lot of this is we're working with our shipping, receiving, storing, tracking goods. Technology has made this a lot easier. A lot of the manual tasks that had to be done with inbound logistics are now automated. Operations may not be as straightforward as what the word seems. In this step, we're taking all of our materials that we receive from inbound logistics and we're processing them into the finished goods or services that we're providing. Just as inbound logistics is moving things into our operation, outbound logistics, we're taking whatever widgets we made in the operation step, we're sending them to our consumers, to distribution centers. Basically, we're pushing them out into the world so we can start making some profit. You can have the best product in the world, but if we don't market it correctly, we're not going to get any sales. Marketing and sales is exactly that. What are our customers' needs and how can we satisfy them to generate sales? And finally, the service aspect. We need to support what we sell. I'm sure as a consumer, you may have bought something only to find out 6 months, a year down the road, the manufacturer doesn't support it at all. That's not how you gain reoccurring business. We need to be able to provide support to our customers after the sale. Obviously, having so much automated communication between suppliers and customers is a huge advantage for a business. We can automatically let our suppliers know what products are selling at a higher rate, what products have sold out. This will automatically trigger a reorder. That is a valuable time-saving and profit-increasing tool for companies. E-commerce also gives our customers more access and involvement in operations of the company. I want you to think, have you ever seen companies post on social media or have interactions with customers that would change the direction of the company or the products they carry? More often, it's very easy for the average Joe to post something online on Twitter and have the company respond to it. Wendy's Twitter account comes to mind. They are incredibly active, incredibly sassy at times, but they are responsive to their customers. And a lot of it is in jest. But let's be honest, it's empowering as a consumer to post something online and know that somebody, somewhere at that corporate headquarters of the company hears you. There's a lot of times where somebody would post maybe a complaint about a product or service, and that social media account would say, "Hey, send us a PM, and we'll talk about this further, outside of the obvious eyes of the public." This is great. This interaction has really never been seen before. Yes, the average consumer can always try to call some 1-800 number or send an email that'll probably get lost and never responded. But a lot of the social media wings of these corporations are starting to really reach out into PR and customer service. They may not be the one closing the deal or really providing that end service agreement, but they're definitely getting the ball rolling, and they're linking the consumer up with the expert in the company to take care of whatever matter they have at hand. E-commerce is only as good as the hardware, software, and the practices that back it up. Slow or unreliable internet connections, poor IT security, and lackluster hardware can really be a hurdle for some companies or even regions in the world. Most developed countries getting a stable broadband connection really isn't an issue. But for developing countries, you can have a really good company, you can have a really great idea, but getting your products out to the world on the internet through e-commerce can be your Achilles heels based on the infrastructure in your country. Just like e-commerce is a updated version of traditional commerce, traditional e-commerce models are an extension or revision of traditional business models, and we're going to be reviewing some of these in the next few slides. Merchant model is similar to what we have in a brick and mortar store. Really, we're selling directly to the customer. Sometimes companies like Dell or Apple cut out a middleman and they'll sell directly to the consumers. And there's different subsets to the merchant model. You have sometimes what's referred to as click and mortar. It's a play of brick and mortar. It's kind of like, think of like Macy's. You can go to a Macy's store, but you can also go to Macy's.com and buy pretty much everything you could in the store and have it shipped to you. There's also bit vendors. This also falls under the merchant model. These are companies that solely deal in digital purchases. Think of the iTunes store. You're only going to buy digital copies of songs, of movies, of TV shows. You're not going to get any physical copies of this, only digital. Brokerage model is when you're using a third party or a middleman to unite buyers and sellers. So think of like if you went to Orbitz or Priceline and you wanted to book a hotel. Well, at the end, you may be booking something through the Holiday Inn, but you're doing it through Priceline. Priceline is pulling all the prices for you. They're pulling all of your options and they're distributing it to you. Of course, they're making a cut on this. And sometimes it may be a little more than what you pay if you went to the merchant model, but a lot of times it's less because when companies get into these agreements, into a brokerage, into a business to business or B2C, business to consumer type of agreement, they agree to not only pass a lower price to the consumer, but at the end of the day, you're going to be paying less even with the fees you're going to be paying. So for example, if you were a hotel chain, you know that you have certain reservations that go throughout all the year, but you're going to have some rooms that are usually, or I'll say usually, but sometimes are vacant. You might go into this business to consumer agreement to have these rooms go at a lower price to your customer to give them a good deal. But the deal is so good, the price is so low that even once the middleman fee goes on top of it, it is less. They're paying less for that period of time than what they would be if they would have booked it through you directly. The best traditional analogy I can give for the advertising model is terrestrial radio, your AM, FM radio. That's a free service. Yes, you have to pay for the radio, but that's it. You're not paying anything for the radio stations. It's not like Sirius XM. That is a subscription-based radio station. But terrestrial radio station, that is a free service for you. However, you have to listen to the commercials. That is what pays for it. The advertising model is very similar. There's a lot of free content on the internet. However, that free content is supported by ads. Pay per click is what we're talking about. That website who is providing the free content based on so many thousands of clicks on the ads, they get a cut of the ad revenue. Google AdWords is a great example of this. There's a lot of free revenue, or there's a lot of free information through Google, and you get a lot of the revenue from AdWords and pay-per-click advertisement. Mixed model combines a little bit of everything, and I think a great example is eBay. Obviously, eBay is collecting fees from every transaction on the site, but there's also advertisement on the site as well, and they're getting a cut of that advertising dollars as well. The infomediary model can be a large topic on itself, and this could honestly be a 2 or 3 day lecture and discussion. Basically, the intermediary model is where websites collect information on consumers and businesses. They transform that information into very good and tailored data, and they sell it for marketing purposes. So, demographic data. What type of people are visiting this site? What are they buying? When are they buying it? What are they paying with? This type of information is extremely valuable for pretty much all companies. If you want to sell online, you need to have a really good idea of what demographic you're catering to, where they're going, and how to appeal to them. Obviously, there are some moral and ethical issues involved in this. If you have taken or will take a ethics class, I'm sure this will come up. If not, spark the topic maybe in one of your discussion posts. It's incredibly interesting. I think so anyway, and it's a whole wide topic that spurs a lot of emotion from everybody. And the subscription model, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're selling a digital product and it is a subscription base. Maybe it's a newspaper, Time Magazine, Consumer Reports. I'm recording this right now with a software called Screencast-O-Matic, and I pay a subscription for it because I want to unlock certain features. And you can pay different tiers of subscription based on what features you want. We touched on some of these categories before, especially in the brokerage model. Business consumer, like we said, this is Apple, the average consumer. If you want to buy an iPad, you're going to go to apple.com more than likely, and you're going to buy it directly from them. Business to business, this is really information sharing between businesses, like it says, but in a set format. So let's think of EDIs, electronic data interchange. So back in the dark days, if you will, before the internet, maybe like the early late 70s, early 80s, when fax machines were king. If you were a company and you wanted to purchase product to sell, you wanted to let your supplier know, hey, I need more of these widgets. You would have a purchase order in a standard template. You would mail it to them, fax it to them, maybe drop it off if the supplier was in town or close to you. The supplier would get all that information on paper, mind you. This is all paper. They would then generate an invoice. Then they would send that invoice back to you. They would fax it. They would mail it. They would drop it off. And then when you got your invoice, you would take that over to accounting and they would process it. This is a very lengthy process. It's a very paper-driven process. And quite frankly, we can do better with IT, with information systems. Now, the whole EDI process, I go on my computer, hey, I need 20 widgets, hit send. That automatically goes to my supplier, hey, Mike needs 20 widgets, great, we're going to send them out. An invoice is generated that immediately goes to accounting. Or bills payable in this case, they would pay it, send it off to the supplier. Next thing I know, I'm getting a truck tomorrow morning with the widgets I ordered. I think the best example and the most widely recognized example for consumer to consumer would be eBay. You're selling something on eBay, I buy it from you, eBay gets a cut, and they also get advertising revenue from that. But I also want you to think about Facebook Marketplace. I have bought and sold many items on Facebook Marketplace. I don't pay Facebook anything for that. Sometimes I do those transactions in cash with the individual I'm buying it from. But even though that is a consumer to consumer transaction, Facebook is still getting a cut of it based on some of the advertising they go through. Sometimes when you're on Facebook Marketplace, especially if you have a history of searching for similar items or maybe repeated searches for the same items, pay attention to some of the advertising because it may be along the lines. Maybe you're looking for a TV. Well, some of the advertising you see might be for new TVs at a good price. That's all, the background inner workings of the Facebook marketing machine. Government has a lot of e-commerce examples, and some of them we interact with a lot. G2C, government to citizen. All of you are paying your taxes if you're a U.S. citizen. That's an interaction. You Register to vote, that's also a G2C interaction. Government to business, if you were a restaurant and you wanted to get your liquor license, that's a government to business transaction. We're doing one right now as a university through online classes. This is an example of e-commerce. There is a traditional commerce for universities for brick and mortar classes. Maybe you're taking some in-person classes right now. This is just the e-version of that because it's all online. And finally, nonprofits are really taking advantage of e-commerce because they can fundraise like never before. They can push their agenda out to a wider audience. They can even use targeted advertising to send their message to people who usually might be tone deaf to it going through their day-to-day life. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is equally as important for large businesses, but I really emphasize it with small businesses or nonprofits. If you're unfamiliar with this is the process of allowing search engines to find your page. If you search for a new business or maybe a small nonprofit, I'm gonna use the American Legion for an example, and I'll close the loop up in your circle. If you're looking for your local American Legion post, it might not show up in your search. They might have a website, they probably have some sort of online presence, but if they have not optimized their ranking online, it's not going to show up. So I'll give the example. I'm the webmaster for my local American Legion post. We had a website for probably over 10 years, but nobody bothered to check the little box for SEO on GoDaddy and the other hosts that we had previously, to put in keywords, to put in locations, to really build our online presence. So when people would look for American Legion Post 114 New Hampshire, we were on like page 7 or 8, and nobody goes to page 7 or 8 in your Google searches. You usually look at your top 3 searches and you go with one of those and you're happy with it. By using search engine optimization, you're helping the crawlers. Crawlers are programs that search engines use to go find the most up-to-date information online. You're helping those crawlers match your search with the most relevant information. And this is how web pages get ranked. And I really encourage small businesses and nonprofits to constantly revise their SEO taglines to make sure that they continually become highly ranked online with different search engines. If consumers can't find you, they're not going to buy from you. It's that simple. Finally, we're going to talk about social commerce. Social commerce is obviously newer because it revolves around social media. And social commerce in itself doesn't necessarily have monetary transactions linked to it. It most definitely can, but a lot of the actions and results from social commerce can lead into monetary transactions or lack thereof. I really want to talk about the recommendation websites. How many times have you visited a restaurant or maybe refused to go to a restaurant based on recommendations? I know anytime I buy something on Amazon, I'm always looking at user reviews. I'm looking at the recommendations of other people on there to see their experience. And the interesting thing from this is there's really not a lot of scientific data behind it. I don't know who these people are. A lot of these recommendations are from anonymous or somebody with a name that's just spelled wrong or their grammar is incorrect in the review, but for some reason it's built into human nature that if somebody tells me their opinion about something, I'm probably going to listen to it, and it might actually sway my opinion. If you're going to buy widget A and 500 people on Amazon say, this is junk, you don't want it, go buy widget B, at the very least, you're going to have second thoughts. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe widget A is not what I want at all. Maybe I really want widget B. Social commerce and social pressures, if you will, really affect people's purchasing habits. And it's something that can be influenced by companies, and we'll talk about that in a second. But a lot of time it's people's honest reviews. We see a lot on Amazon lately, and I get these sometimes when I buy maybe like knockoff items or cheaper items where I'll get the package in the mail and they'll say, oh hey, if you leave us a review and screenshot it and send it to us, we'll give you $5 for Amazon gift card. They're not telling you to leave a good review, but it's kind of implied. Hey, tell us tell the world how good we are, and we'll reward you. Obviously, there's some moral and ethical issues involved in this, but they're trying to, for better or worse, sway the reviews, sway the social commerce around their items in their favor. And a lot of people are swayed from that. And you'll see some reviews down in the bottom in some fine print. They'll say that this is an endorsed review, or this is a paid review. Look out for those and take them lightly. So this covers Chapter 8. Again, a lot of information to ingest on here. Review the rest of the PowerPoints. Like I said, I don't go over every single slide. Read over the module. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you.